Good evening, everybody. With the rains out and normally the Gift City seminars happening in the other room, it's very clear that what stalwarts we have today amongst ourselves to be shifted in JB Auditorium. I always say that the perk of being a part of the AMA committee is I get to meet everybody and get that knowledge subconsciously and unconsciously. So I'll welcome you all. Thank you for being here. I know it's raining and you've taken your efforts to come here. So I'll keep it short and sweet and we'll start the session soon. I'd like to start by introducing my ex-president, Aniket Bhai. So, Aniket Sunil Talati served as the 71st president of the ICAI for the term 23-24, known for his strong ethics, forward-thinking leadership, and commitment to digital transformation. He played a pivotal role in modernizing the CA profession. He successfully hosted the World Congress of Accountants 2022 in Mumbai and spearheaded the launch of the new CA curriculum and the first global professional accountants convention. And he's an influential voice on global platforms, and he currently serves on IFSC's PAIB advisory group and is a board member of CAPA. Welcome, Aniket Bhai. I'd like to felicitate you. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Dipesh Shah. He's the Executive Director at the International Financial Services Center Authority with over 23 years of experience in international business, project development, corporate affairs, and policy matters. A key figure in the establishment of Gift City, he has been instrumental since its inception in 2008, leading initiatives that positioned it as India's first smart city and operational IFSC. Under his leadership, GIFT IFSC has attracted global banking, insurance, and exchange institutions, now handling transactions exceeding USD worth 50 billion. Dr. Shah holds a PhD in International Financial Services Center, an MBA in International Business and Finance from Nirma University, and is a qualified chartered secretary. Welcome you, sir. I'd like to introduce another person of my fraternity, CA Kshitij Patel. I would rather say he's the pioneer of the profession. He's a seasoned chartered accountant with over 30 years of professional experience and co-managing partner at Manubhai and Shah LLP since 2010. He specializes in audit, foreign exchange advisory, strategic planning, and international business structuring. Sir has advised global clients from the USA, UK, Europe, and Australia and on cross-border tax, outsourcing, and business setup in India. He serves on expert committees of ICAI and GIFT IFSC and has led initiatives through the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and Gujarat Electronics and Software Industries Association. He is a recognized speaker on knowledge process outsourcing, and he has delivered lectures globally. He also serves as an independent director and trustee with several organizations, including Amanta Healthcare and Blind People's Association. So grateful to have you, sir. Welcome you, sir. Last but not the least, it's Mr. Shawn Parikh, and he's told me he's also called Mr. Shaleen Parikh. He's the co-founder and CEO of MYCPE One, a global platform supporting 3,000 plus accounting firms across 5 countries. A chartered accountant and seasoned entrepreneur, he has built ventures like Integrity and MyCPE to empower accountants with offshoring, education, and advisory solutions. Recognized as a top 20 under 40 accounting influencer by CPA Practice Advisor, he is also a passionate speaker and founder of the Social Eye Foundation, driving education and digital access in underserved community. His work bridges global opportunities with grassroots impact. He's committed to making accounting careers more accessible for youth from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in India. Welcome, sir. And now, for the Empire, the moderator of the evening, it's Mr. Sandip Shah. He's the head of the IFSC department at Gujarat International Finance Tech City, where he plays a pivotal role in developing and promoting India's first international financial service center. With over 15 years of experience in financial services, regulations, and policy development, he has been actively involved since the inception of IFSC in India. He works closely with regulatory bodies like the IFSCA, RBI, SEBI, and IRDAI to introduce and expand key business verticals, including aircraft leasing, offshore fund management, fintech, and bullion exchange. An author of the book GIFT IFSC, a comprehensive guide, he is a recipient of the 40 Under 40 Investment Professionals Award and has previously held roles at HSBC and NSDL. Thank you, sir, and I'll wish you all the best for. In breaking with the normal same of me sitting on the dais, I like to enjoy this session myself. So I'll take the seat and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. The advantage and pressure of being one of the speaker at AMA is you'll have to read each and every book that they give every time. So I'll start keeping the record of it. But I think to discuss subject like one GIFT City and also accounting and finance, I don't think panel can be better than what we have today. So big round of applause for the stalwarts here for taking out time here and basically giving, for spending your time here. Another advantage of being part of AMA for some of this session is to have a focused discussion. I think we have always seen that the crowd present in some of these events and seminars, they are largely very much focused and they are here to understand in details about various opportunities. And when we are going to discuss about BATF as an opportunity, I think what we are going to look at and discuss today, one, and I will also request all the panel members to kind of give their perspective from these aspects, because the crowd or the audience present here, that includes students, and they are trying to see what are the opportunities for them for, in this specific field. There are CA firms as well, chartered accountant firms, who are largely focused on India today, but they would also like to understand how do they actually look at global accounting as a business opportunity. The third basically is also from the talent perspective. I think sometimes there is also a need to kind of nurture the talent in the areas of accounting and taxation, and that's where all of you can guide in terms of how such talent can be developed within the institutions. And probably before we deep dive and start the technicalities of the today's discussion, I think it's very important for all of you to understand the basics of GIFT City, basics of IFSC, and also the IFSC authority. And I think, Mr. Dipesh is the right person to kind of give us that understanding, because he has been involved from the day one in terms of the development of the city as well as the financial center. And I think once you understand those basics of the IFSC and the IFSC authority, probably it would be very easy for all of you to kind of then understand what kind of financial services activities are happening in the zone and how all of you can become part of some of the activities that we are going to discuss it today. So, sir, before, as I mentioned, I think it would be very helpful for everyone if you can, on a very layman language, help us understand what is GIFT City, because many times they read various news, in the newspaper about a university setting up their campus or a bank setting up their campus. And middle of that, they also get a news that, the prohibition is relaxed in GIFT City. So how does it relate and and what is the role of IFSC authority in the entire development of the financial center?
Thank you, Sandip, and thank you, AMA, for having us here today on this important discussion. I'm sure the name Gift City many times also gives a false impression that you will get some gift when you attend the Gift City conference or seminar. But I think the gift is more in terms of how this has been structured and how it has been implemented. But the story, as Sandip said, how it started and where it is. When it started, I think in the Gujarati language, everybody used to say, "આ બધું શું કરો છો તમે? આવું કશું થવાનું છે નહીં. આ તમે અમને થોડે દિવસે તારાના દેખાડો, the Gift Cityના જે મોડલ્સ તમે જે બનાવ્યા છે, આવું કશું જમીનમાં આવવાનું નથી. આ ખોટું તમે ગવર્મેન્ટના પૈસા વેસ્ટ થઈ રહ્યા છે અને બેટર તમે કંઈ બીજું કંઈ સારું કામ કરો." This were the reaction of the, the so-called business mind of the Gujarat. કારણ કે એ લોકોને બધી પલ્સ they know everything, when they will used to come to our exhibition in Mahatma Mandir, they would come and say, "આ તમારા મોડલ્સ બધું સારું છે, પણ આજુબાજુમાં મારી જમીન છે, એનું શું થશે કહો." So this is how this community has been so business oriented that from day one they knew કે જ્યાં સુધી આમાં અમુક વસ્તુઓનો components add નહીં થાય અને આવશે નહીં ત્યાં સુધી it may not achieve the scale and size for what it was meant. But I think sitting in this room and being with a crowd like this, we can be more frank of what has all gone and where we are. I think what has gone in GIFT is 100% a leadership. A leader visualizing something out of nowhere. I want to create a gift city. And you can imagine this is in the year 2007-8. And 2007 it is also the year when the Lehman Brothers went down. And everything that you were trying to build, the entire financial world globally was saying that the financial sector itself is a problem. You should not touch that sector. Nobody wanted to come and, probably set up. This is the year in which you are visualizing to set up a gift city. And with a vision that you want to create a global financial hub. Now, obviously, the reaction in 2007-8 can be like, this is ahead of time. What you are trying to think may not be probably implementable in the scale and size which you are trying to implement. But I think the conviction, as I said, of a leader was so high that if we do infrastructure right, and if we create a right structure, it is possible to create gift city. And if you really see from a Gujarati mindset, end of the day, this land belongs to the government. So whatever you have done on the land is actually increase the value of the land in and around the gift city and probably in Gandhinagar. So what has happened is government has not given away anything to lose from a perspective of developing this project. But what they gained was probably an attempt to create a job, bring in those services which were not happening in Gujarat to the scale and size that we know. We were probably missed the IT bus, as all of us know. Probably Bangalore took that IT bus and they really expanded so fast. That was the time then everybody debated Gujarat could have been on the same flight that we could have taken off in the IT also. And probably for finance it is so closely related. I'm sitting with so intelligent chartered accountants and the businessmen who created this. Their acumen of financial services in Gujarat is so high. And we came to know because we started studying so details about this sector. And we came to know that in the stock market in today when we see 30% of the contribution is from the state of Gujarat. So if people from Rajkot don't participate in IPOs are never oversubscribed in India. This is the acumen of financial strength that the state had. But we never provided a platform that we can exhibit that talent in some structured environment. And probably Gift City, as Sandip just said, became a right, concept, an idea, which can actually push that whole thing into one structured format. Now, implementing GIFT has never been easy. I think you have seen over a period of between 2007 and 2025, those who are reading Gujarati newspapers, you have read everything and anything about the GIFT City. From, not getting started to where it is and not going somewhere. But the statement is that, as I said, you have a leadership which visualizes this to implement. And what you have done, you now created an infrastructure. It's a first smart city and infrastructure which is probably implemented for finance and technology. And I'm sure many of you are aware of how the name of the gift city also emerged. It emerged from nowhere. You know, the honorable chief minister came to the room and he said, we were all ready with some names. And he said, I'll call this as a gift. You please figure out full form. And then everybody started struggling with Gujarat International Finance, but the T that time was not visualized that the finance and technology will go hand in hand. This was in 2007 that he said that the finance and technology, fintech, which we call now, that it will go hand in hand, and that's why the name is Gujarat International Finance Tech City. And that type of vision to implement was probably then taken forward by some of the very high leadership that the GIFT probably got in form of the chairman of GIFT and others. But just to come and probably fast forward to where we are now in the GIFT city where you have three components very visible. One is the commercial infrastructure and the companies operating there. Other is the residential infrastructure. And the third is the social infrastructure in the form of probably a club and hospitals coming up, schools inside, hotels inside. It's a self-sustainable city in itself. And what you see in the commercial buildings is two parts of the GIFT city. One is the domestic center, which is similar to any building in probably near to AMA. Any building, whatever you can do in GIFT also in the domestic zone. But there is a special zone called SEZ, which is a special economic zone, which has been notified as an international financial services center. And I'll probably end with what the IFFC is doing. What the International Financial Center is doing is it is being carved out as a non-resident or a foreign zone within India. Now you will say, why you need a foreign zone within India? For the simple reason that our currency is not fully convertible. So you needed a zone for all practical purpose. It becomes a non-resident zone, which means that for you, instead of going to Singapore, Dubai and Mauritius to do India dollar business, you can be in GIFT to do India dollar business. That is what it has been created in the International Financial Services Center in GIFT, that it has got an offshore status in onshore within India. And what you see in those buildings in GIFT when you enter, you see stock exchanges operating in dollar. You see banks giving external commercial borrowing or trade finance in dollar. You see insurance companies giving dollar insurance. And then you see all these three gentlemen's businesses operating there, from an accounting outsourcing to probably, I'm sorry, Kshitij is still not there, but I'm sure he will be in a few days from now or maybe a few months from now. But these are the entities which are now doing dollar overseas business sitting in GIFT. And then probably, as Sandip rightly said, you are seeing suddenly Infosys opening up their campus, and you will be wondering what Infosys has to do in GIFT. Infosys is now doing a TechFin services within GIFT with 1,000 jobs that they plan to create. And then the whole ecosystem of surrounding that financial services is getting created. Sorry for a long answer to what was asked to me, but probably the journey of 15 years, probably I thought that this is from a start to where we are, is probably will help you to understand where the GIFT stands today.
No, thank you very much. This was very much required, because some of these experiences will not be available in any books. It is only available through the people like Mr. Dipesh Shah. And I think, how many of you are CA practitioners? If you can raise your hands. Gujarat ma puchu na pade. I think it's given that majority of the CS will be practitioners. So Kshitij, I'll come to you. Probably when people were just trying to understand what debits and credits for the Indian accounting standards, and at that time you thought of doing the global accounting, because still I still remember during my student days we were talking of Indian accounting standards. We were still deliberating on how some of these transactions should be accounted in the books, and India was still evolving in terms of the accounting practices. And I still remember we were still deliberating whether we should have our own accounting standard or we should simply adopt some of the global accounting standards. And probably at that time all of these things were happening, and in the mind of Kshitij bhai something was going on where the other countries are also struggling, and why don't we actually capture their business from India? In the technology world, I am sure many of you would agree that India has done quite well. If you look at the Infosys, TCS, and the strength of India, I think the way we are serving to the world in terms of technology, we are actually the leader globally in terms of serving to the global banks or a pharma companies or a supply chain companies for the technology requirements. If you ask any of the IT companies in India, they will say that our more than 50% of our revenue is coming from the global businesses. So they are actually largely serving to the global markets. Now my question is, can we replicate the same in the accounting and taxation world as well, where accounting or taxation of entire global world business world can be done by the Indian accountants? And if you can help us understand what kind of made you think that you can actually do the accounting for Australian companies or even say US companies sitting in India, and then subsequently I'll come to kind of a question where what is the business formula to kind of achieve that. So maybe you can start with your earlier experience of starting the Australian accounting.
Thank you, Sandip, and thank you, AMA, for inviting me to this panel. And for this, I think I would take you back to the 90s. When you look at the 90s of Ahmedabad and look at the CA firms and the opportunities available to chartered accountants at that time, uh, I think I was a very fresh chartered accountant, just qualified in 92. And in 96, 97, I was thinking, now what? Where, where we will go forward? How we will... See, we had a practice going on, but we thought that you have to bring in something new. Secondly, at that time, I think I got my inspiration from the technology field, where Bangalore was known to be the Silicon Valley of India, and all the software was being developed and uh, uh, implemented out from India. So that's when I thought that what is accounting? It is debits, credits. If you look at the tax, it is income from salaries, capital gains, other sources. And that is how I tried to prepare my first presentation, which I have it today also. And I'm very much surprised that I made a presentation in the 90s about outsourcing and how we could bring that business into India. At that time, people were laughing. In fact, just like as you told that when we were talking about Gift City, people were laughing. When I was to talk that we will do a tax return of US in India, people used to laugh at me. That how are you going to implement or learn about the US laws and how you are going to develop the people in India. So I myself went to the US, studied an undergraduate class for the tax returns and accounting in the US, and came back and trained about 8 chartered accountants in 2001. That was our first year of operations. And that is how the first time we were thinking about outsourcing and doing foreign accounting. And once we got the pilot project up and running for a CPA firm in New York, that's when I thought that if we could do successfully for a firm in New York, why not UK? Why not Australia? Why not New Zealand? Why not Canada? So ultimately, year after year, we went there. The first thing we kept, my father actually used to always say that before you go out and market for any work, you better have your resources prepared and have the necessary infrastructure to carry out that assignment. And that is what we did. And we created an office, we created a pool of staff out there and trained them onto the various laws, and then we marketed on to the various countries, various accounting firms for their jobs. And that is how I think the whole thing started. It was difficult pre-COVID time because at that time people were not willing to share their data, thinking that India, what the data security would be all about, etc., etc. After COVID, everyone is talking from work from home, so that belief has gone. And that the second thing what has helped most is in the east and west there is a problem of aging population which is very high, and therefore our opportunity has increased tremendously because of that. So people are wanting now more and more to come to India. They have learned about India, they have the experience of India, and that is how the whole thing has expanded.
Thank you. And by the way, Manubhai and Shah LLP, headed by Mr. Kshitij, how many people you have in the firm today?
We are 1500.
1500 people working in the accounting space. And technically, if you ask me, it's actually it's an export earning that you are giving it to the country, right? It's export of services that India earns, dollar earned by India. Aniket Bhai doesn't need any introduction, and we have seen his leadership during the presidency of the institute, and I must congratulate you for bringing the entire global accounting fraternity to India and to Gujarat during the GloPEC event. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but one of the best event where entire world in the accounting space were in India and in Gujarat. So thank you very much, I think, for that initiative, and I'm sure it will put India on the global map. How many of you are, my second question to the group here, how many of you are students either in the, okay, so we have good number of students as well, and maybe wondering whether either how they can become part of the some of these businesses, or as an entrepreneur how they can actually start some of these businesses. And Aniket Bhai again has been one of the leader in terms of the global accounting, and I'm right now trying to create a discussion in such a way that you get the sense of the opportunities in the bookkeeping, accounting, and taxation framework, which is the core topic of our today's discussion. And probably then we'll come to the gift side. I'm still not at the gift side. I'm still trying to convince you that India and Gujarat, we can do the global accounting sitting in Gujarat. And that's where my question to Aniket Bhai, because many times say, I'm not a chartered accountant, but the question to me, and which is also asked by many of the participants, that if we want to do Australian accounting, do we need, say, degree of Australian, regulator or the education body? Second, how do we approach, say if you want to start that business, how do we connect with, say, Australian firms or a US firms? Because I may be running a chartered accountant firm today in Gujarat from India, but probably what is the way forward to kind of access to the some of these global businesses? I'm not sure it's not a hidden business secret I'm asking, but it will definitely help the larger community to venture into the new lines of businesses.
Thank you very much, Sandip Bhai, and my thanks to AMA. Thank you, Achal, for the wonderful introduction, and pleasure to be with such illustrious people in this hall. I think serendipitously, Khandwala Sahib is here, and he was one of the first persons who had spoken to me about why not make GIFT into a center for BATF. I still remember Injati Srinivasji used to be the chairperson, and there was a program in Leela in Gandhinagar, and at that time I was, I believe, the vice president of the institute, and Mr. Nanda, who's currently the president, was with me, and we both had come to that conference. And there, of course, idea germinated, and thanks to Dipesh sir's leadership in IFSC, a committee got constituted. I got the opportunity to meet the Honorable Prime Minister in GIFT, and we had almost a 2-hour discussion, sir, in that closed room where 20 of us were there. And I was privileged to, of course, represent the accounting profession as the president. And I think I'll talk about the BATF journey maybe a little later, but I'll try and answer your initial questions first. So, look, in terms of the opportunity that lies, is there a bigger opportunity? Definitely, 100% yes. You go today to Hyderabad, I will not name firms, but there's a large firm which has 107,000 people on my last count, just sitting out of one complex. You go out of the Hyderabad airport, reach Gachibowli, that is coincidentally also where the center of excellence of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is. There is the high-tech city and the Gachibowli area. Just one firm which is doing global work, and in that single complex, 3 different buildings, you have 1 lakh chartered account. Now imagine if that itself was to replicate here in Gujarat. The sheer amount of talent that you will have, the sheer amount of transactions and processing that can happen. And this is one firm. Today, globally, in the US, they do the rankings of the firm. I think out of the top 100 firms, we have still only, I believe, scratched the surface. But I think Shawn can add to this. There are so many other firms who are also looking to send their work out. So the pool and the universe of work which is available is immense. There are no business secrets, and I think I pride myself, at least in our profession. I think this is singularly the profession where, and I used to discuss it with other advocates or doctors, nobody will teach their technique to the others, but our profession is such that the best tax experts will come and tell you about the tax laws. And I think even in this field, you have all 3 of us, and we'll be all happy to share about what little success we could get in this area, because we truly believe as professionals that this can only help the country and the economy. So look, I always say this, the expectation and the mindset has to change first. The first step cannot be, if as qualified chartered accountants, some of us get used to the fact that there is MEF, I will fill up a form, a multi-purpose empanelment, CAG will give me some work, RBI will give me some work. I think if that mindset is there and we expect a similar form to be filled and the institute or some other body internationally to give us work, it's not going to happen. I think first and foremost, a very blunt, and sorry to say this, but I'll try to be as brutally honest as possible and not sugarcoat things, especially when I'm in the midst of chartered accountants. We have to change the mindset. Be ready that if you want to go in the global market, Kshitij bhai had to go to the US in the 90s and spend time. When I moved my area of practice, our firm used to do bookkeeping and accounting work in the early 2000s. I started a very different line of service, which was, of course, audit support service and various other tax compliance services. Now, I couldn't do that sitting here. I spent a good amount of time. I went out to New York, reached out, spent that time myself, learned it, and then very similarly, as Kshitij bhai mentioned, 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16. Overnight, you will not have a 1,500 people firm. But there's always a start that you can do. Do you need the foreign qualification? My honest answer to that is, it will help in today's world to tell them and go them there for the students here that I also have your foreign qualification. If I can tell a US CPA firm that I am a US CPA, it gives that level of confidence. If you go to Australia and say I am a CPA Australia, it will help you. And today with the MRAs, the agreements that the institute has with all these institutes, it's a very easy pathway that you have to get these foreign qualifications. But is that a mandatory requirement? Answer is definitely no. I jokingly say this, if you can file the GST return in India and reconcile the 1 and 2A and 3B, I'm sorry, I'm not very good at the GST because I don't practice in that area. But if you can do that complex calculation on a month-on-month basis, believe me, the other tax returns, it may be in any part of the world, are going to be far simpler for us. But what we have to learn is how they do things. And I think it requires, like I said, change of attitude, change of culture in terms of how we work with these firms. India ma તમે ક્લાયન્ટને કહો આજે ના થયું ચલો કાલે આપી દઈશ ચાલશે. There is no ચાલશે in the international market. If you have a delivery of a turnaround time and you have promised that I will deliver your return on the 16th of June at 7 p.m., it has to be 6:59, but it cannot be 7:05. Because 9 out of 10 times your client will then reach out to you and say, this is not what I had expected. So I think for the younger generation, also for the chartered accountants who are thinking, change the mindset, change how we work, and understand that you are not dealing with Indian clients. You're dealing with a foreign client whose culture is very different. And once we have the understanding of the culture, here, even if a road is broken, we still happily walk over there. You know, there it will not work. Somebody will sue you. If you don't clean the snow outside your house, after the snow has stopped falling, you will get sued because if somebody slips, it's your responsibility. It's a very different mindset with which people work in the international market. So you have to understand that. But the opportunity, I believe, Sandip bhai, is tremendous. Today, Kshitij bhai raised an important point of the average age in the West and India. I can tell you, I sit today on IFAC, I sit in the CAPA's board, and in any 2-day conference that will be there, in the US, in UK, in Australia, in Canada, in New Zealand, in France, in any part of the developed world, half of the time is actually spent on how do we make this profession attractive? How do we attract talent? How can I get people into accounting? Because if you look at the numbers globally, there aren't enough people doing accounting. And we have the advantage of 4.5 lakh chartered accountants, 10 lakh students, 17 lakh students who have at some point done CA from 1949 till today. They may have cleared inter, they may have cleared foundation. You have a captive pool of talented people. Only thing is, can we channelize it and put to use? So I think to summarize this in terms of what we need to do, I think if we have the right infrastructure today, which GIFT provides, we need class A real estate for us to go and tell the client that, look, this is where your service will be delivered from. And if you have the talent pool, which Ahmedabad definitely has, I think you look at the articles, you get students from Rajasthan, you get students from MP, you get so many students from Saurashtra. So I think Ahmedabad, in terms of the talent pool availability, is there. It's just the change of mindset that we can do. And if we do that, I'm sure GIFT can become that export hub and earn not just wealthy foreign exchange, but also give gainful employment to so many professionals.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, I'm sure, Aniket, you have already set up in GIFT City or setting?
And started, yes.
Sir, perfect. And how many people you have in India today?
Totally today is 550 people.
550. 550 people, again, specifically in the global accounting space. Again, it's a big number that we are talking. Now, coming to, Mr. Shawn, Parikh, I think in the financial world, what we have seen today in the GIFT City, whether it's trading on the stock markets or whether it is banking, technology is becoming integral part. You can't think of a financial companies which is not equipped or updated with the technology. And today, I think AI is the buzzword everywhere. I think everybody is trying to, and probably for people like me, AI is only Chat GPT, but I understand in the business world, AI has gone much beyond Chat GPT, and I understand it is also becoming integral part of some of the important processes of the businesses. And again, when chartered accountant is coming out from the institute, probably do you advise them to also focus on the technology side of it? Because many times they are very good at the financing and accounting side, but then when you ask them about the technology, they may not be as equipped as they are in the financial world. So how do you see the role of technology driving this business, both from India and the global accounting business perspective? And second, while Tele is a very well-known brand, and probably again, I'm giving my example because I'm a layman in the accounting world, where Tele is the only word for us from an accounting space perspective. How do we identify the right kind of applications and softwares for the bookkeeping or accounting space? Because if I decide today to start the Australian accounting, should I venture into developing a software, or there are ready-made applications available in terms of practicing this business?
Hi. So, slight correction. I go by Shalin Parikh. I think they picked up from LinkedIn. So people might think that I might start speaking in some foreign accent. No, I'm a Gujarati. So Shalin is the name. But yeah, so role of technology in what we are doing. And thank you to Sandip Bhai and Sir, Dipesh Sir, for inviting me and AMA. And very privileged to be part of such an esteemed panel. So technology, so when I'll start sharing my experience. So probably in 2015, I got out of pharma business, and there was a company, I won't name because they are our competitor, but one of my friend was working in that company, and he started giving me a glimpse of how outsourcing works. And I come from chartered accountancy community, so very inquisitive about how things work. And in we used to meet for coffee and chai, and I used to understand from him. He used to work in a senior position there, and uh, t- at that point of time as well, what he was doing, they were not building technology, but they were using multiple technology applications. So it was a huge tech stack that they designed, on the basis of which they onboard client and serve client. So my first experience was interacting with him, trying to connect the dots, and at that point of time, I thought that let's try and do this. Uh, in late 2015, early 2016, we jumped. I traveled America, started cold calling, door to door marketing. This was the only way forward for me, because one of the questions, how to acquire clients, that was the way. Because being accountant, even I did not know how to market. I'm also schooled just the way we all of us are. So the only way was to learn, was to do on job, correct yourself, improve. So that's how we started learning and acquiring client. Now, a couple of years into the system, I realized that technology is the way forward, and this is just fundamental concept. And still very small into the business, you wanted to understand that how you can really make something out of it. I always say that if you're running a business, you are an entrepreneur, you need to find your center, because uh, you can call it circle of competence, but what you remain in your center and try to do everything from your center. So continuing education came as one of the things that all of us needed, even in chartered accountancy. So we run continuing education platform, perhaps one of the largest platform in America. 250,000 members with 15,000 plus hours of content. We have 700 plus creators on the platform, which does continuing education, all from North America, and global educators. So thought that was a technology platform that we built. We serve today. We serve beyond CPA, which is equivalent to chartered accountancy in US. We serve more than 100 designations approved by 15 different bodies. So that's how technology came to us. And when we started, the only aim was that how we can acquire clients. So that was, we do a webinar there. We will do a free webinar. A US CPA who would be attending the webinar would get a free webinar, a free CPE credit. We will get our exposure. Okay. So that was the vision, that we got NASBA approval. We paid the fees. It was not started as a purpose of building a business. It eventually became a business. That's a different thing. But we started it for acquiring client for our first business. Role of AI and technology now. So, see, dimensionally things are changing. I always say that while we have very senior professionals and who started outsourcing here, especially Kshitij Sir, he was one of the early starters. But I also call myself, prior generation of outsourcing now. The reason being, what we used to do probably in 2015, 2016 when we started, things are changing dramatically. And I have been, I have been asked by a lot of fellow chartered accountants that what is the way forward, what we should be doing, what countries we should be targeting, and all of that. And role of technology definitely becomes super important here. So we ourselves run robotic process automation, but with natural language processing coming in. Uh, if I can give you an example, today, when you prepare a tax return, you look at the source document and then you input the data into a software. Here we use Tele or we use KitTrack or something like that, right? So with natural language processing, you can just start recording that insurance premium is this, your W2 or your Form 16 has this salary income, and will capture automatically. So the rule-based input and development is completely being taken away in a different way. Another example outside of our industry is Google losing its search. Google is losing its search traffic because people have moved to either artificial intelligence engine, where you are able to find definitive answers and not list of directory points, and where Google Gemini started giving their own answers. So we need in financial world, financial technology is similarly taking shapes. You need to take the cues from what is happening around. So workflow process automations. So whenever an AR or AP process is being automated, you need to understand. We build process flow chart. We call it process document, process design document. These are the terms that we use. And for every process, we build a flow chart. And then what has happened in RPA, we used to build a structured flow chart with natural language processing that would go away, because natural language can bypass the process and give you the output, which they also call as agentic AI now. So all of that is actually started coming in. It will always come first in Western world and the developed world because of the sheer high labor cost, and for them to do using automation and AI is far, far, far bigger arbitrage than you do it here in India. We don't do any business in India, unlike my fellow panelists. And I was listening to a podcast by, I think it was Manish Chokhani from Inam, and he told that any entrepreneur doing business in India should be awarded Padma Shri, and I agree with that. With the amount of effort you need to take. So we only do business outside India, and from that perspective, for us to stay ahead is very, very important. Uh, the Tally, the amount of businesses Tally is supporting, it's a great product. But if you simply compare it with QuickBooks in US, they are a multi-billion-dollar market cap. Simply, you can't monetize in country like India because of the situation. I was talking to a friend in ClearTax, and um, definitely they have not been able to create the value they typically the amount of client they are serving. So very different market. It's hard to make money in India, and we have consciously taken a call not to focus on India. Not that it's not a great market, but it's a very different market. The cost of acquisition is different, the revenue and lifetime value of the client is different, and hence we have always focused in that market. And where, if you are able to build a product, what Sandeep sir told, uh, the change of mindset. So I became a product or a tech entrepreneur. It was by accident, but then I had to learn what is UI UX, what is product. I need to sit with engineering team to understand them what product development is. I had to hire a product manager. When you have a product, cybersecurity comes in place, that how you will be doing this. So a lot of that I still don't know. We have team doing it, but a lot of it today we understand. What is, you try to take reference point, try to ask question, and then try to gauge knowledge by holding somebody else's finger, you know so that's the way forward if you want to become a tech entrepreneur. I think the best thing that we guys have, you know I know a company in Vadodara. They do property management. The single focus is that they do property management. They have built a product around property management, and they serve clients, probably 200 300 people. So why I'm giving such a great example is they have built a product around it. So what we guys have is a deep functional expertise. If you're able to build that domain expertise, deep functional expertise, that's the starting point that you have. What we have today is a domain expertise. Technology development is commoditized. And AI today, I'm not a developer. I don't know any language, but I can sit on an AI engine and tell them that I want to design a page with a call to action button here, with a sign up button here, with a menu here, and they will design the page for me. Not as perfect as it would be, but it will design. So development of tech or coding, front end, back end, is commoditized. You need good developers, you need good people, but what is most important is your functional expertise that you carry. So if you have that with you, if you know about a particular industry, particular service really better, I think that's the way forward. And just to add to one point, we have been traditionally focusing on markets like Canada, English speaking markets, so to say, right? I think it's time that we look beyond that. The entire Europe is a virgin market, according to me, where, France is another country, Italy, Spain, Germany, with development of technology, and AI. These are the markets which people are still not looking at. Even a French-speaking colony in Canada, Quebec is the place where different. And the beauty of our business is it's not very universal. If you learn something about France, it remains in France. Tax, accounting, auditing, it's very focused to that small economy. It's not a small, but 3.9 million businesses, some 100,000 firms work there. So from that perspective, the beauty is that if you build that expertise, you can go very deep, really deep into that and build something out of this. So we have been outsourcing, but the future vision is that we need to build businesses that are global out of India. So when we build continuing education or tech business, we are building managed IT, cyber security, robotic process automation. We'll be competing with businesses globally, not just back office. So it's truly that we should be visioning in a true way. A next global accounting firm should be from India.
No, perfect. Thank you once again. I think, and again, the advantage of India is basically it makes your life very easy to do business globally. Correct. It teaches you a lot in terms of how to do business. Uh, I think probably, when we talk of global accounting, we thought that US and Australia market is saturated because of the many players in India. But he made a very correct statement saying that European market is completely untapped. So something who wants to start from scratch, I think some of these new markets can be looked at. And I was in one of the, Microsoft's hub in Hyderabad, and they actually gave a presentation of their AI technology. A video of Chief Minister who was speaking on in Gujarati, Bhupendra Bhai Patel. It was at the same time getting translated into English with his tone of voice. So language is not a barrier now. Basically, it's you can you can now with the AI technology you can actually capture any market, using the right kind of technology. Now coming to the basics of what we do at GIFT City in terms of the BATF as a framework. Uh, the the writer of the regulation is here, Mr. Dipesh Shah, who actually thought of and started working on the regulations in India. And again, for the first time, India has come up with a framework where accounting, global accounting, can happen with a very regulated environment. And I think it also gives strength to the players, saying that when you are doing accounting for XYZ firm in Australia, they are also relieved basically because they know that the firm which is doing accounting, they are part of a regulated regime. So if you can help audience to kind of understand the basics of the regulations and the tax benefits that GIFT City provides to do this business from GIFT City.
Because I have a committee chairman on my right and a very vocal member on the left who were part of this committee who help us draft the regulation. But whatever work they have done, I can probably try and answer from that perspective. I think, as Aniket rightly said, the Honorable Prime Minister had a roundtable in GIFT. This was in May 2023 somewhere. And I think one point which came out was that post-COVID, I think everybody knew that we become like the pharmacy of the world. With so much of vaccine and all being exported, the world started recognizing India as the pharmacy of the world. And I think his point was that why can't we become accountants of the world? And if you really unfold this, why can't we become an accountants of the world? Is really very powerful statement that the world over, the manpower is not available to do accounting. And this was also visible when we did series of roundtables with accounting firms, and many firms told us that, look, in US and others, people don't like to do accounting job. They are better paid off to drive a car as an Uber driver because he was getting more in driving the car rather than earning in the accounting. And when we started analyzing this statement, we were also little bit, hassle of what he said. He's saying, he's saying that, look, it's better to drive the car than do an accounting. But probably what he meant was that globally, the payment which you make to the professionals is varies, in terms of per hour basis and all. In India, I think everything is monthly. This is your salary, and then you have to, make sure that you earn a living out of it. But globally, there is a benchmarks for per hour work. Now in India, I think a similar work was done at a much competitive cost than what is done globally. And probably the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister when he made this statement was, why can't we be accountants of the world, was exactly what you just said, that why can't India become an outsourcing hub? when we started brainstorming, we said, how do we implement this vision? Like we are a financial services center, a regulator for financial services. What accounting has to do with us? And to our puzzle, when we asked the chairman of the committee whether accounting is financial services, I think he also came back and said, after all the research, accounting is not financial services. And for us, like without accounting, you can't do a financial statement. So the puzzle was that, how do we really change this into a law? And when we debated, I think the WTO rules gave us some insights as to how the services were defined. And we started digging more, and we said, if we have to get this into a financial center, then we need to identify and probably notify bookkeeping, accounting, taxation, and then we added the financial crime services or financial compliances as a part of that BATF regulation. And we went to the government, we said we want to notify this as a financial services. And their question back to us was, where is the parallel on which you are trying to implement this? And we said, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is saying that this should be notified as a financial services. So you should help us, because this is a larger vision that we are trying to achieve through the financial center and notify it as an accounting hub. And government really helped, supported us. Obviously, it went to the Department of Revenue to see where there will be no leakage, because I think what their worry was, accounting has already been done across India, and actually you are sitting in Gujarat. So that was an added worry in the minds of the Department of Revenue. Being in Gujarat, being closer to Ahmedabad, where all the brains of chartered accountants are, if we allow this to be done from GIFT City, there could be a lot of Ahmedabad-based chartered accountants shift into GIFT and do accounting. How we are going to manage this? And probably what came out in the regulation is as follows, that we allowed bookkeeping, accounting, taxation, financial crime as an outsourcing services, notified that as a financial services, but we made some caveat. We said, if you are an existing chartered accountancy firm in Ahmedabad or anywhere in India in the domestic zone, you can't shift into GIFT. You have to create a new company. So the first criteria is it has to be a new, separate, wholly owned subsidiary, or whatever you want to create a new entity. Second, you can't transfer the manpower from your existing into this new company. So from domestic, you can transfer up to 20% of your manpower. 80% has to be new, which means you want to generate new employment within the ecosystem. Third, we say that you just can't abruptly close your existing contract and give it to your new subsidiary, because that will also mean that you are just transferring that between them. So it has to be a new contract. But I think what really helped us with the brains of Aniket by his other vice president at that time, and he became the president, and Kshitij, they said, look, renewal can be brought into GIFT, because renewal effectively you can do from anywhere globally, including Ahmedabad or in GIFT. So we allowed, if the contracts are getting renewed, you can actually write it from GIFT, that fresh contracts, and that is allowed. And then we put some numbers, because end of the day, what you want is a large number of jobs. So what we said is that if you are creating an accounting outsourcing firm, at 60 square feet or so, you need to have one job. Because you don't want a 5-member team filing a 500 crore accounting practice written from GIFT. That will end the practice of BATF the very second day. So we said minimum number of people also has to operate when you are operating this. These were all check and balances. The idea is not to put those in a very rigid terms. The idea was, how do we really actually bring the new work into the GIFT? And probably Sandip is witness to some of the marquee names which are now entering GIFT. Like for example, you have Google, you have IBM, you have Accenture, you have Bank of America, you have now, as I said, Cognizant, Infosys, Wipro. So all these important names are now coming, and they are also developing the skill sets or bringing in the new manpower into the system. But what was very closest to probably Gujarat was the commerce graduate. I think we are the largest number of commerce graduate pass outs in the whole of India. We have largest number of chartered accountants, I was told, to be passed out from the state of Gujarat. With all this combination that we had, we thought that we can create that global accounting hub from GIFT City, from Gujarat. And I'm sure with the students in this room, with the practitioners in this room, and some of the largest players sitting in this room, it is just a matter of time that you will see thousands of jobs in accounting for global will be done through the GIFT City as we move forward. And I'll definitely encourage all of you. I have seen Mr. Swetang here, one of the very vocal chartered accountant operating from GIFT City. And most of his video I watch these days is about how the accountants can make the difference and how the GIFT City can add value to what you are doing. So my probably request and urge to all of you is that this opportunity is real. It is happening in front of you at a right time, and probably whatever the journey of your career you are in, you should try and figure out how can you get associated with GIFT to take the advantage of this important journey which the GIFT is right now in.
And chartered accountant will definitely ask about the tax benefit.
Yes, I think that's. I think let Aniket bhai say that people will go on.
I'll just maybe take a couple of minutes to add to what Dipesh, and it's been a remarkable journey, I can tell you. Sandip bhai, when we met the Prime Minister, and there was a meeting 2 days prior of what the discussion should be, and I think the question was point blank to me. Prime Minister wants global level firms from India, and what are you doing to do this? And many of you saw even last week, there was a meeting that the Prime Minister's office held with a very specific topic of creating large firms which are global in nature but Indian in origin. And I think if we have a political leadership which is so bent towards our profession, I think it's incumbent upon us that we now take that step and move forward. I think in this whole ecosystem, I can tell you, I think May 23, sir, is when we met. That is when the idea germinated with the Prime Minister. Imagine the speed at which things happened. Committee is constituted, draft guidelines came. Those guidelines came to the institute. And sir would recollect, at that time it was BATF, bookkeeping, auditing, accounting, taxation and financial services. And as a council, and I was very clear that audit cannot become a service which we move to the GIFT, primarily because we did not want to allow that this can be used as a route by foreign firms who do not per se have registration in India to then come in GIFT and start giving audit services. Because if they start giving audit services in GIFT, I think it's only a matter of time that they will start asking for this license pan-India. And I was grateful that IFSC and Dipesh bhai and everybody agreed that yes, if this is the concern, we'll drop it. This went to DEA, this went to Department of Revenue. I had so many calls at any point of the day where they would say, what are you doing with this? The council approved it, went to the government. But yet, imagine the speed. I think May this happened, and by March next year, we had the guidelines draft issued. That's the speed with which the government functioned to create this BATF. And what is very important for all of us to understand, and I hope everybody in the room appreciates this is not just for CAs or CS or cost accountants to create a center. Today, bookkeeping, accounting, taxation and financial crime services, Sandip bhai, a very important point is, can be done by any company. So you can have a manufacturer. Earlier, if a financial service company, for example, Bank of America, established its center here through the GIC framework because it's a financial service provider. So a bank can come, an insurance company can come. But there was no opportunity, for example, for a Domino's to set up its accounting office here. It would not qualify as a financial service. But today, under this definition of BATF, it is not only accounting firms or accountants doing BATF service. A manufacturer, a trading entity which is global, can shift its entire FP&A functions, get F&A done in GIFT and will still enjoy the exemption. And what is the exemption? I think it's phenomenal. 10 years out of the 15 years of your choosing. So you can select year 1 to year 10, or it can be year 6 to year 15. 10 years, you have 100% tax exemption. And I think that is a huge tax break that is available, especially in our industry where I think Kshitij bhai will recollect. I don't know, Shawn, if you could take benefit. There used to be something called the Service Export Incentive Scheme, where we used to get a good benefit out of the service exports we used to do. That has dried out in the last 8-10 years. So now I think this is a huge advantage because today you are competing with Philippines and various other markets who are out there. And therefore this can be a huge advantage for you to arbitrage your cost, bring it down in terms of the pricing that you're able to offer. So yeah, great tax benefit that is available. And I think even a very good point, my request to the newer chartered accountants or students is foreign languages. Today, Institute runs Spanish course, French course. We've tied up with Alliance Française for those who want to learn French. We've tied up with the Spanish embassy to learn Spain. And if you learn Spanish, it's not just Spain. Entire South America, barring Brazil, is Spanish speaking. Because they speak Portuguese, everybody else speaks Spanish. So you have a huge market which we've still not tapped. And I think for those who in the hall are courageous enough to learn these languages, I think even if you pick up French and just penetrate France, I think you have another 4,000 employee company ready to be created out of Gujarat. But question is if somebody takes the lead. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, please.
Add that there is also a MAT benefit, wherein the rate of MAT or AMT is 9% in the gift. Secondly, there is benefit of the GST as well as custom duties. And lastly, I think there is a capital subsidy scheme which is run by the government of Gujarat. As far as the capital subsidy, as well as there is a lease rent subsidy and provident fund on additional employees employed. So all these benefits are available to the IFSC when you set it up.
Absolutely. So I think you're not helping other companies to save tax, but you yourself also now can save tax by setting up in GIFT City. Probably we have last 5 minutes and a very common question to all of you. We have, as I told you in the beginning, we have two kind of audience here. One is student and the second is a businessman who is running his CA firm. So considering your vast experience, one advice to student who is now coming out from their academic world and trying to enter either as an employment side of it or a business side of it. And second, one suggestion if you would like to give to the CA firms who are already here and doing the India centric business. And as we know that GIFT City, the chartered accountancy business is now going to a very different world where they are actually becoming investment bankers for many, global funds. So if one advice for student and one advice for the CA firms from you, maybe we can start with Aniket. Yeah.
I think for the students, I think because they are dearer to my heart as been the president and they are larger in number and I think much bigger life in front of them, I would say that hone more skills, adopt technology, not because it's you're not in commerce doesn't mean that only your friends who did science or picked up engineering need to know technology. Today, you need to live in an era where technology is going to be a part of everything that you do. So learn technology, become global citizens. Today you have universities of top class which are coming in GIFT. You have other opportunities. So have a very global mindset and embrace technology is what I will tell the students, because if you do these two, I think the world is yours to capture in the next 25 years. No other country has the population and the kind of talent which India has. Question is, do we want to utilize this to our advantage, or do we want to spend this time watching reels and doing other stuff and not getting gainfully employed and contributing to the economy? And to my chartered accountant colleagues, I will only say that, look, I've believed even when I was at the president, I think the intention of mine doing GLOPAC and doing it in Gandhinagar, of course, a lot of people wrote me off. So far, never in the history, the international conference, Sandip Bhai, in 75 years has ever happened in a non-metro. It's always been Delhi, Bombay. In fact, last year, too, the event happened in Delhi, though the president was from Kolkata, because Kolkata also today is not sure if they'll be able to attract that kind of attendance. But I think I owed it to the state, which has given me everything, that I bring that conference here, and with God's blessing and support of everybody, I think we did an MOU with GIFT, we did an MOU with IFSC in that event. And I think the event just was a opportunity for me to showcase to my membership here that for us as chartered accountants, we see our clients. And I think you put it somewhere in the middle, Sandip Bhai. The growth they are seeing is not because of the domestic sales, but it's also because of the export earnings that they have. And if businesses are growing by exports, pharma has become pharma because of the export that they do. IT is IT because of the IT earnings in the foreign exchange that they earn for India and the international clientele that they service. My dream and wish would be that let us all also aspire that on my P&L, or the income and expenditure statement that we prepare, I think 50% of the revenue that I get can be domestic, and let 50% of the revenue come from international sources. Let us have a US dollar account, a AUD account, a GBP account in our balance sheet. I think which IFSC is the only place which offers. And if we do that, truly we can go global. So, thank you.
I'll just add for students probably, and I always tell at some places that you have to stop this social media and the Insta business, because that takes away your patience. What is probably you have to build your career, and we were fortunate that we were not using those when we were building our career, because you get bored so easily. You know, in just 2 minutes you change the reel and you went to something else. That is really not helping. And probably my experience is in 2008, as I said, everybody said that what you guys are doing, including my wife. My wife always used to say, please don't say where you are working, because people start laughing the moment you say you are working in GIFT City. And now she says that why you are not saying that, you know, you are working in GIFT City. And I say, now there are so many fathers, I don't need to say that I'm working in GIFT City. So I think the patience is the name of the game. You know, if you're building your career, you have to be patient and give your 5 years at least in one field that you choose, and then decide what is, you know, more appropriate for you. Even those 5 years, maybe midway you will feel what I'm doing, but those 5 years are going to be the boiling water that really makes you the tough, you know, a professional as you move forward. So I'll strongly do that. For chartered accountants, I have no advice, because they know where the money is, they know where the benefits are, they know what to do with the tax incentives. So they will find their way into GIFT City anyhow. I can't advise them, and I always love to hear advice from them. So I have no advice for chartered accountants.
For students, I always advise that attitude is very important. એટલે ચાલશે, કાલે થશે, ભૂલી ગયો, મારે સોશિયલમાં જવાનું છે. I think એ બધા words when you are dealing with foreign accounting, એ આપણે બદલવા પડશે. અને I think attitude is very important for any work that you do. And the attitude, if you have a positive attitude, that will help you to grow in a very great way. As far as my fellow chartered accountants are concerned, I would always advise them, go for good infrastructure, plan your infrastructure in advance, and then go for marketing of what you are doing. I think that will help in a long run. People will understand, because when you talk to foreigners or people, accountants outside India, they would want that what is the infrastructure you are having. They would want what are the resources you are having. So build up your resources, build up your infrastructure, and then go out and tell people that what you do. Thank you.
Hello. So first of all, I got a social media advice from 2 experienced people. I can't give that because I'm the one who is using the most. So I can't even give that advice to you guys. So that would be a good advice for me. I'll be monitoring my screen time. But for me, I think one common experience that I would like to share is, I think skill is key here, according to me. The skill set. People think bookkeeping. I think a lot of traditional bookkeeping, which has been perceived in the last 5-10 years as an area of opportunity, is being automated big time. But at the same time, there is a tremendous amount of opportunity ahead of us. There are 685,000 CPAs certified in America. There are 33 million registered businesses. 20,000 of those businesses are more than 500 employees. 100,000 are between 100 to 500 employees. So the amount of opportunity is humongous. And I'm just talking US. There is Canada out there. And then there is other European countries, Australia, New Zealand. So, but the most important, I mean, the center here is key. Center here is skill set. I think people often miss, and I would always say that the skill set will follow your results. So the focus, what we are doing at for audience as well as for the team, for target audience, for our domestic aspirants, We have MyCPE One Academy. You can check it out. We are doing CPA course. We are providing CPA course there, enrolled agent, which is an IRS tax designation there, and a CMA course, probably at 90% lesser the cost than available in market. You can do a CPA at 9,999 rupees. You can do CMA at about 3,000, 4,000 rupees, and EA at 4,000 rupees. And with, I remember of this in this thing, Dipesh sir was the one present where we launched EA and CMA at one of our functions, our annual meet, probably 2 years back. 2 years back. So Dipesh sir was there, present there, and now we have CPA. So this is once, I always say we have earned a great amount from this industry. So making some small investment in some way will only help, and if it helps in building an ecosystem, nothing like it. And we aspire that if we are able to touch the heartland of India and help in building this ecosystem, nothing like it. So skill set, according to me, for students and for our fellow practicing accountants, I think is one key area. And another thing is for firms which are little larger, building a mindset of investment. It is very, very important. We are trained to save money. Unfortunately, we want to find opportunities where we can, in a balance sheet or a P&L, that we are concentrated on more on the left-hand side. We should be concentrated on in the accounting term, on the right-hand side of the balance sheet and not the left-hand side of P&L. Because everything happens on the right-hand side of the balance sheet, which is investment. So if you're starting something in France, you will require to build that talent beforehand. Go out there, trust those people. So that initial investment is very, very important. I would say that when we started our business, we made a choice that we would have a workforce in America. So we have about 8 employees in US. It's hard. It's equally painful for me to pay salaries in dollars, We all are Gujarati and we want to save that money. But we wanted to make that investment. So that, and there is definitive advantage there when you talk to we all come from a cultural community, and when we connect with each other, if I meet somebody from Gujarat or from India in America, I meet with a lot of warmth, a lot of connect. So similarly, there is a connect when an American talks to an American. So we made those investments. So cultivating a mindset of investment, I think that is something that I would always say.
Thank you very much. Amazing discussion. And he was lying when he said that I don't know marketing. I think we know your products well now. I think the way India, when started their IT journey, we were called BPO center or a back office center or outsourcing center. But if you ask today to any IT company or a global capability centers, they have become innovation centers. They are no more outsourcing centers. Similarly, I feel the BATF for the accounting world will not only do the accounting, but eventually they will actually become part of the critical decision making of some of the global businesses that will eventually happen. And I'm sure with the kind of advices or guidance that we have got today, I can see 3-4 global firms sitting in the room today with the application coming forward, Dipesh sir, to you. So wait for it. We don't have time for taking the questions. It's already 7:45, but off the line, you can just meet speakers and ask if you have any questions. But thank you very much, and it was a great moderating this panel. Thank you.
What a pleasure. It was a joy to my brain and knowledge, as it might have been for you, to end this gift series, the third part of the gift series, with such an amazing panel. Thank you, each one of you. Aniket bhai with, highlighting the opportunities in the field. Dipesh bhai with, giving us the history and geography of the gift city. So many of us did not know. It's like a Wikipedia, walking Wikipedia. Kshitij bhai by, detailing those little slight details of the gift and the taxation part. Shalin bhai with all the insights you bring to the table with your own personal business ventures and stuff. And Sandip bhai, you just brought out the best in them. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you all of the wonderful audience for being so patient and intent. So thank you all of you all off the dais and on the dais. I hope you have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.